All right, guys, welcome to the Synchronistic Wealth Activation Global Party. And today I have two amazing people who are not only experts in flow, but also experts in creating prosperity and wealth with flow. Justin Faerman and Jackie Knechtel, is that how you say it? Are global
Close enough.
pioneers. What's that?
Close enough.
Close enough, okay. Are global pioneers in the art and science of living in flow consciousness. They run high level training programs worldwide, teaching people from all walks of life on how to bring their lives and businesses fully into flow and create exponential growth and success from a place of effortlessness and ease. After years of spending deep research into the nature of reality and the mechanics of the mind with focus on expanding human potential, they formed Flow Consciousness Institute to bring their work to the world. They currently travel the globe, conducting research, whole talks, workshop trainings on living and in ongoing flow states, applying intuition in life and business, creating success without the hustle and grind. So this work has been covered all over the place, including Fast Company, Forbes magazine, and is really sought after by transformational leaders. I got a chance to meet Jackie through amazing friends and just recently met Justin as well right before this call. And they're just incredible people, and I'm really excited to hear what they have to say about flow. So it's really an honor to bring people who not only just live, breathe, and do this work, but also have not only the science background behind it, but also the practical applications of it. So I want you guys to really put your hands together and your hearts together and welcome Jackie and Justin.
Oh, thank you so much for that beautiful intro.
Yeah,
We're
totally.
excited
The
to be
whole world is
Like we're on
clapping.
stage with like a ton of muffins and then or
here.
something.
Totally.
So tell us, let's just jump right in, right? Like, I know before we started this, we were talking a little bit about, the places where people kind of trip on flow. So our summit again is on synchronistic wealth, this idea of when you're in alignment with your mission, when you're in alignment with your actions and in alignment with your integrity and doing business from a place of alignment, then things flow. Yet at the same time, even after personal development work and people going through a lot of this, they still get caught in these misflows or non-flows. So tell us a little bit like how you got into this flow work, and then like how did you navigate through these like little icky sticky points as the business is growing.
Yeah, beautiful. There's so much in there. So I guess I'll start with kind of our journey. And Justin and I have both had similar but very different journeys at the same time. Both have been entrepreneurs for all of our lives and doing things a bit differently, thinking outside of the box, challenging the status quo has just been our nature since we were young. So and we very synergistically, synchronistically came together about 6 years ago now. And we were both teaching very similar frameworks. And I had been introduced to him by a woman that I didn't really know. She was just following me online. And she said that you need to know Justin because he's teaching all of the same things that you are. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, we should link up. And then I was nomadic at the time. I know you know a lot about that life. And traveling the world, didn't really have a home. And I was exploring California as possibly the next place I was going to live. And I was driving up the coast and I was passing through Santa Barbara and I reached out and I was like, hey, we should meet up. And then I ended up in the hospital, which was unexpected. But it's exactly what needed to happen because as a nomad, I would have probably had dinner with him and then kept on driving. And we needed that time for me being strapped to a hospital bed for 5 days to really drop in deeply with each other and feel the synergy and know that we needed to work together. And so we mapped out a whole plan while I was in the hospital when we were going to start speaking and teaching. And, we figured it was going to be about 9 months out, but in reality, it was about 2. And, it's been a beautiful emergent process ever since.
Amazing. What about like how did you guys get into Well, first of all, that's just amazing that you just like took the call from source and from flow and just decided that, you know what, I'm in a hospital bed. I'm just gonna go for this new business and take it forward. So that's so much courage and trust in that in that journey itself. Yeah. How about you, Justin? What's your story?
Oh,
Yeah, well, I guess, my story on the other side of, I guess the prequel to what Jackie shared is that, you know, I I'd been into pretty deep into, expanding consciousness, personal development, entrepreneurship for many years before we met. And I had a mentor come into my life, and this was probably about 2010. And he was living in a really high level of flow. He didn't call it that, and I didn't have words for it at the time. But like what we teach now, you could say this guy was a total master of flow, and that got me fascinated with it. He lived an extraordinary life. He was extraordinarily successful and impactful entrepreneur and speaker and mentor, and did a lot of work with underserved youth and also the richest people in the world. So he was a real powerhouse, and that got me fascinated with flow and how it works, and how we can create exponential success effortlessly, because he was a living example of that. And so that led me on about a good 10-year deep dive. Well, now it's 10 or 11 years of wanting to understand the mechanics of how it really operated on a granular level. Not just, cool, he was telling me he was visualizing and doing all these things, but how does visualization even work? Like, how does the mind work? How does our mind interact with reality and create it? All these different things. And so that's basically led me to eventually crossing paths with Jackie, and is a big part of what we do today, is take this cutting edge research into consciousness, the nature of reality, the psyche, quantum physics, neuroscience, success, human potential, and really work to decode how these things operate, so that we can then develop practices, tools, trainings, et cetera, and teach people how they can have the same result.
yeah, and your business is really just an extension of yourself. So much of what we do is the inner game, and how your inner world creates your external reality. So having the understanding of the mechanics of how that all works, we really teach people a framework that they can help understand and see what their beliefs, their perceptions, how they're tuning into their intuition, and bring themselves into alignment will have that effect on every area of their life, but especially in their businesses.
I love it. And and thanks so much for sharing that, because, to contextualize that, it's also, I see like right now there's so much marriage between flow, spirituality, business, wealth, inner game, and there's just like this whole interconnectedness of everything. And that's really why like this new generation of entrepreneurs are really being called to embody. How did you see um, the concept of, like, what was your understanding of the concept of prosperity and wealth and money in the context of flow, and how did that shift with the mentorship, for example, with the mentor, Justin, that you mentioned, as well as you practice your own tools? Like, how do you see that having evolved, and what were some of the main points of evolution in that, where it's like, wow, it's clicked to another quantum leap, wow, it's clicked to another quantum leap?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, like for me, there was just one really big shift, and then it's been continual mastery of the big shift. And, I think that prosperity and abundance, well, first of all, a lot of times they're associated just with money, but it's really a holistic thing. And that's important to be aware of that, because if you just throw all your weight behind trying to make money, and you don't optimize these other domains of abundance and prosperity, health, wealth, relationships, consciousness, impact, purpose, etc., then you get really imbalanced success if you get it, or you get burnt out, or you don't get success at all, because, or prosperity at all, because it's a holistic thing ultimately. And that's part of what we do, is we really try and take people away from the focus on money specifically. Not that we're not focused on it, but we tell people to put their focus front and center on inner work, shifting their consciousness, intuition, being in limitless possibility, infinite possibility. Because when you align with that, success, prosperity, abundance, money, wealth, that follows every time. And now those are the tools that are going to take you all the way and get you out from the glass ceiling that most people have and take you all the way to your full potential as far as you can handle. So for some people that might be millions, other people that might be billions, it might be full spectrum impact. When I say millions and billions, it could be impacting millions and billions of lives. It could be having millions and billions of dollars. There's a lot of different ways it applies, but the point is that it's about alignment with these different things versus just focusing on like more normal metrics of success.
Yeah. And abundance and prosperity are our natural state in our purest form. We are abundant and prosperous. So it's just stripping away all of the programming and cultural conditioning that we've taken on that leaves us feeling unworthy, or having all of these conditioned programs and beliefs about money itself, or rich people, or beliefs about their own deserving or worthiness about of wealth and all of these different things. So when we're stripping away all of that programming and doing the inner work to come into that alignment with our natural state, that's when you create things effortlessly and in flow.
Love it. Um, Thank you so much for talking into that, because wealth, just like you both of you so clearly mentioned, it is holistic and it almost seems like it's non-linear, right? And it's like spreading that seed, or that cultivating that land of like all parts of the wealth that someone is considering what is abundance to them. Decision making, when it comes to decision making and incorporating flow ease, right, that you talk about, and that ability to be in that alignment, how do you, first of all, where did you get this trust? How did you cultivate this trust? Because it requires so much of a leap of faith when people are being shown a vision and saying, hey, like, you do have this ability to impact this many people, like this is your calling. And then to step into that vision and then making decisions that are always in alignment, despite the fear, despite the I can't do this, or despite how am I going to get this done. And despite, all the sort of let's say even the summit, or like the email funnels, or the like do it as usual kind of business as usual tools, how do you incorporate flow and ease into these systems? Or how do you navigate this? Or do you do flow first and then have the system support the flow? Like what does that look like in practice?
Yeah, well, there's no separation between flow and anything in our opinion. It's either you're operating in flow, or you're not really operating in flow. I mean, and there's even a paradox there, because you can't not be in flow, but there's a difference between struggle flow and effortless flow. And we try and help people choose effortless flow unless they really want struggle flow. um you know I think that it's really important that when people consider what they're doing in their alignment, and what actions that they're taking, what decisions that they're making, to realize that basically everything that you want in life is on the other side of fear. Like, mic drop. Period. It's anything is possible for anyone to experience, but it's really our limiting beliefs and fear, like Jackie said, and variations on fear, anxiety, worry, et cetera, that that keep people limited and keep them not in flow and keep them from achieving everything that they're wanting to create. And so, a big part of approaching business from a flow perspective is being aware of that. And then when we hit up against these roadblocks and we come up against these fears, or these, we lose confidence in ourselves, we have self-doubt, that these are not things to be pushed past, but to really be examined and to be seen for what they are, which is, opportunities in disguise. That when we go down and we do the deep healing work and we release these fears and these limiting beliefs, that we can move forward effortlessly. When it's not effortless, when people just try and take their fears and limiting beliefs with them and they just push through them. And that's like dragging a ball and chain behind you. And so if you simply take the ball and chain off by doing, effective healing work, then the whole journey can start to become much more effortless.
Yeah, because that's what you need to blast through the glass ceilings and those transition points that you were speaking to earlier. Because if you're not coming up against a discomfort or an uncomfortable growth edge, then you're probably not playing a big enough game. And so you're staying in your comfort zone and playing small. So as you're growing and expanding, it's natural to come up against these fears, these limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, all of that. But having the tools to actually process it and work with it in the moment is what allows you to go to the next level and break through those glass ceilings and get to the next level of expansion.
Amazing. Yeah. So, have you ever had a situation where you were shown a goal or a vision that is, let's say, 10, 100x of what you expected that your vision was? And it was sort of like just way beyond what you expected. And, and what were the tools that you guys used to kind of like it's almost like an evolve into, like you said, like heal everything and then evolve into that frequency or that level of flow? Do you find that, and the follow-up question is, do you find that as you're kind of expanding your capacity and expanding your potential, you are sometimes it seems like you're being called for like the ability to receive and to process and to kind of hold more and more flow?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that that Jackie and I like to do is to really operate in a reality of infinite possibility, um, because this allows you to make quantum leaps and do a 10x, 100x, 1000x, whatever number you want to put on it, really quickly, and to skip a lot of the unnecessary steps and a lot of the unconscious struggling and suffering that happens when we operate linearly. And so you mentioned operating nonlinearly before, and flow is largely that, not entirely, but largely a nonlinear path. And so there's powerful questions that you can ask yourself to help accelerate your journey to your highest and biggest vision. One of those is like, how could this happen, right? So you dream something so big, and then basically people get into this space where it's like, oh my God, it's going to take 20 years, or it's, I'm going to need to have a huge team, or I'm going to need to have all these resources, or, it's just going to require so much. But these are all like linear thoughts that the mind has based on its expectations. But the truth is that 9 times out of 10, it's actually there's much more efficient ways to get that result. And if you ask yourself, if you put like interesting design constraints on your question, like, okay, this thing normally takes 20 years, but I'd like to do it 1 year. How could I do this in 1 year, right? And when you ask your mind that question, you ask yourself that question, it causes your psyche to go in and start to find ways that it's possible, versus projecting all of these ways that it's going to take a long time, or it has to involve a lot of effort, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So having that positive expectancy that it is going to happen. And then really, most people are putting their goals so far out in the future and thinking they need to do it, like they read in the book, to 10 steps to, happiness or whatever it is, and follow this particular path in order to get there. Or most people get stuck on the how. It's like, oh, I have this huge vision, I can't see how it's going to happen. And then they trip themselves up and get stuck because they're trying to get somewhere rather than having the vision be the place to come from and the thing to propel you forward and be your compass. And so by using generative language and starting to speak the vision as if it's happening in the moment is a way to start giving energy to it. And everything started this way. Everything started as a thought or an idea, every creation that's in this world. So when we have a vision, most people hold it inside because they're afraid it won't actualize. And what would that mean about them? And they'd feel foolish if they talked about it and then they didn't do it. And, what would people think of them? And all of these ways that we hold ourselves back and we keep our visions inside of us. But if we start to speak it as if it's happening now, doors start to fly open, connections are made, people are making introductions to, the exact resource that you need. And that's how you make a quantum leap. And so, I've a million examples of how this has happened in my life. And, we have so many examples in our flow community of how people have bypassed, all of the steps to get there and have jumped right to the finish line.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I can feel the, the energy behind that as well. Mm, Success is such an emergent process, and when you're embodying flow and you're embodying mission and you're embodying all the elements of what you talked about, that trust in that non-linearity and that trust in that infinite possibility, it can sometimes seem almost does it still surprise you sometimes on how synchronicity arrives? And do you still find yourself sometimes be like, wow, like there are still little kinks where I'm like kind of stopping that flow? And so what are you guys, what's your next vision, and how are you experiencing this, this new energetic flow in this new direction
So I
or
just want
this
to
continued direction? Go ahead.
the piece around the synchronicity that, we have them all the time, and we use synchronicity as a demarcation point for how much flow you're in. And so you can start to track and measure how much synchronicity exists in your life. And no matter how small or big they are, you really want to have gratitude for them. I'm still in awe and surprised and grateful every time there's a synchronicity and we run them by each other. And it's like, wow, can you believe this? Because that gratitude, that excitement, that energy is what is going to keep them coming. So starting to pay attention to them, to track them, express gratitude for them, and really marvel at the wonder and the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I would add to that as well. Um, yeah, flow is a process of mastery. It's a game of mastery, and so however good you get, there's always higher and higher levels to play it at. So what was incredible at one point, then you get normalized to it, and then it becomes just your baseline, and the goalposts are continually getting stretched and stretched and stretched further and further. And so as you go deeper on the path, you go through cycles where you get more nuanced and you get more mastery over the various things. So at first it could be really obvious what decisions to make and what path to take and what to do, but as time goes on, the stakes get higher, there's more on the line. The decisions get tougher. What was once an obvious decision between something that was like a hell yes and something was just like not interesting becomes like, now all my choices are incredible, and what do I do?
Yeah, that's the biggest
Yeah.
obstacle, is like the avalanche of opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. I mean, it's just like, I guess, and that's part of like any success curve, I think, is that you get to a place where there's an abundance of opportunity, and the power is not in the yes anymore. It's much more in the no, and knowing how to prioritize and what to choose and what not to choose. And because if you start to choose things that are not in alignment, you can really quickly burn out and spend too much time, and then that can end up sabotaging you. And so it's fun. It keeps things interesting, that's for sure.
And like Justin said, it is a process of mastery. And so it's not like you just learn to trust yourself and trust life and all of your decisions, overnight. This is something we teach people, really practical tools to hone and shape their intuition, so that, as they start to get the nuances of how to read those sensations and use that as their decision-making tool, and calibrate to what's aligned with their values, their gifts, and all of that, then, it becomes a process of, how do I trust a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And each time you're making decisions this way, and you start to see the benefits and the results, it becomes a little bit easier to trust. And so it's a process of surrendering to that. And then also, as we've mentioned before, doing the healing work around it, noticing what's coming up, where those triggers are, what is it pointing to, what emotions, what beliefs, what doubts, what fears, all of that.
And it's so important as well to do it in community, because what I found is that, because not everybody lives in this way, like when you are developing that trust with that flow, it's such a vulnerable place, because it's not, it's not something that is immediately accessible for everyone to support you on. And so if you're watching this and you're wondering, like, how can I develop that trust with my flow and all of these nuanced levels, it's important to have a community of people who are going through that process as well, and someone who's gone through, many layers ahead, to take you through that. Because what I find is, like, exponential healing happens when we're in community. So I just wanted to bring that point out, as well as, and then now I also want to hear about, how does this flow feel in your bodies, in both of your bodies, and when you're thinking and you're sort of calibrating to the highest states of flow, or the most relaxed states of flow, your capacity of flow in moment to moment. How do you experience that?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I would say, it feels like a warm bubble bath, really, just like all over. um,
Like a
but
hot towel out of the
yeah,
dryer.
hot towel out of the dryer, like the cold towel they give you on the plane and stuff. No, in all seriousness, flow definitely has a feeling to it. There's, classically flow states, are this kind of profound altered state of consciousness. And when you're in a flow state, because like you feel amazing, performing amazing. And you enter into this like profound state of deep intuition. And that happens a lot when you're living in flow consciousness, which is, what we're more focused on versus classic flow states. Flow, it when you're in flow because there's different feelings that start to show up. One of them is inspiration. That's really one of the highest calibrations for flow, in our opinion. When you're feeling profoundly inspired, is usually a sign that you're really deeply calibrated to flow. It's something that's presenting itself that you should pursue. Same thing with excitement. Excitement is also a really powerful forward moving flow calibrator. So forward moving, saying like this is something you should do. Because intuition can tell you to not to do something, and usually that feels uncomfortable. And then in a more classic sense too, with intuition, like feeling really expansive, feeling really free, like anything almost without exception that is on the wavelength of feeling like deeply pleasurable without it being substance induced, uh, largely, not entirely but largely. This is going to be something that's guiding you towards flow. And when you're feeling like that, that means that you're hitting like one of those holistic success markers. Like if you're feeling really good because you're taking care of your health and dialing everything in to support you, like obviously that's a flow marker. You've got your health flow dialed in. And the same thing goes for all these different areas, health, relationships, wealth, purpose, career, work, what we're doing. We want to really calibrate all of these different things to be our most expansive, most inspiring, most exciting.
Yeah, I would add to that too, that you come into a profound place of gratitude really for everything in life, and coming into a place of radical acceptance, knowing that life is conspiring in your favor, even when it may not look like it on the surface. So getting to a place of acceptance, gratitude, love, appreciation, all of these higher states of consciousness, and also ultimately landing you in equanimity. And so that's one of the best hallmarks of flow, is knowing that regardless of what's happening circumstantially around you in the world, you get to maintain your center. You get to remain grounded and calm and at peace, regardless of what's happening around.
Amazing. Always. I feel like every time I finish the with little segments, I'm like, oof, like another layer of comfort and flow. Um, so when you're tuning into the flow of, we talked about that holistic wealth, right? That holistic, um, let's just put people are kind of like obsessed with this elusive billion, right? And when we're tuning into something that's like, of highest impact and of highest flow and of highest potential, do you guys do this work where you're tuning into it daily? Does it integrate into your life? Do you do this before you do an activity? And how do you? Because sometimes when you get an inkling of doing something, like let's say something that takes a while to plan, maybe like 3 months of project management to plan. And then the flow begins in like month one. And then flow like month two and month three, maybe the juice kind of runs out. How do you do you recalibrate? How do you maintain flow? How do you continuously navigate this while also applying the left brain or that organization mind and that execution mind to it? So how do you connect those two parts of experiencing and being and doing and just staying consistent?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say if you're 2 months deep into not feeling in flow, watch out. Careful. Usually, if you're not feeling like you're in flow for more than, a couple hours, like you want to correct,
Yeah,
pretty
maybe
quick.
that project is not aligned for you anymore.
Yeah, or you're not prioritizing like how the order of how you're working on things correctly. Essentially, left brain and right brain, humanity loves to be in either or consciousness. You can use your left brain or you can use your right brain, but you can actually use both at the same time. And that's, part of the flow magic is integrating these polarities and integrating these seeming dichotomies and getting the best of both worlds. And so with working in particular, what we say is like, let your intuition lead and your mind follow. And it's not that you can't use your mind, because, like I'm doing my taxes this week, I'm definitely using my left brain, right? But I'm using my intuition to say, when should I work on my taxes and when should I be focused on something else that I enjoy more? And when I'm doing my taxes, like, what feels like the most intuitively inspired way to go about it. And this goes, I'm talking about tax, but this goes for anything. Like when you're designing a landing page or when you're figuring out who to hire, you always need to be triangulating your intuition with, quote unquote, facts and logic. If somebody has a great resume, but when you're talking to them, they feel something feels really off, like you better trust that, because, everything might look good on paper. And then 2 months later, you might find out they're stealing from you or something. So, the point is that the magic happens when we make sure that things feel good first, and then we start, taking whatever actions we need to. Then we end up in a flow state versus the hustle and grind and trying to get things done.
Yeah, really using intuition to inform your strategy, your logic, your rationalization, and all of that.
Awesome. So we're here at this part of the interview slash sharing where we can either share a process of how to get into it or anything that has to do with like that synchronistic wealth flow, or we could use the quantum machine that I have to record the information field of when you're tapped into that flow and then beam it out to the audience. So it's your choice of whether you want to share an activity that you guys usually do, or would you like to?
Well, that quantum information machine sounds pretty cool. I'm not gonna
Okay, cool.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm happy to share a process, but I'd love to also experience that. See, this is the either or thing. Can we just do both, maybe?
Yeah.
We can do both. Yeah, what we can do is I can record your information field while you and then we can beam the information while you're doing the process. Then we can have a double jam.
Sweet, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So basically, I have a quantum machine that will measure your consciousness and your energetic field just to get a GPS location of where you guys are from an information field level. And then afterwards, what we're going to do is we're going to state a state of which of your highest flow. So in synchronistic wealth, just to be a little bit more specific. So it's an I am or I feel statement. And then I'll analyze the field of the audience who is watching, the future audience and the audience itself, to that group, and then seeing what needs to be cleared out, or what information needs to be added to heal or to bring that flow into the surface. And then it will be a list of items, and then we can just beam it, and then we can breathe into it, and we can even just say a couple words to integrate it, whether that's an activation or that's a little process. Okay.
Awesome.
So the first thing you'll need to do, I'll share screen, then you guys can see as well. But let me just do this. Let me just put this on top of here. Okay. So right now we're going to measure your consciousnesses of both of you. So I just put Jackie and Justin here, and then we're going to measure your consciousness. So all you have to say is, I allow the quantum machine to measure my consciousness to the highest and best good of me. So you can just say that, and then I can start recording.
Can you say it one more time?
I allow the quantum machine to measure my consciousness to the highest and best good of me or us.
I allow the quantum machine to measure my consciousness to the highest good of me and us.
And you too, Jackie, you have consent as well.
Oh, okay. Can I just give a thumbs up to that, or
You can just give a thumbs up to that,
okay,
yes.
got it.
Okay. Okay, so take a deep breath in. It's going to measure both of your consciousness right now. So just open up your information field, take a deep breath in. Okay, and then now we're going to measure your energetic field, and this is another way of just kind of pinpointing where you guys are. So, yeah, just same thing. I allow the machine to measure my energetic fields to the highest and best good of us.
I allow the quantum machine to measure my energetic field to the highest and best. Forget the last part, of us.
Of
Of
us.
us, yeah, of us. All right, take a deep breath. Okay, perfect. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to do let's see, maybe an auric photography, or yeah, let's do an auric one. So we can just analyze the chakras of the highest flow for the group, actually for this particular energetic field right now. Which is pretty much in flow already. And so this is the auric, sort of the energetic balance of the auric field that you guys are in as a group, and as well as the space that we're all in right now, because I've kind of opened up that space a little bit too. And then I'm going to basically record some of that and then beam it out. So let me just get the analysis part of what flow means to you. So if you were to state a statement of an I am or I feel statement, how would you state that when the flow is at the highest?
Mm.
And specifically synchronistic wealth.
I feel unlimited and inspired.
I am magical AF, and the universe showers me with gifts.
I am magical AF and the universe showers me with gifts. Awesome. And so I just typed that into the system, and we're just going to. So basically, there is a database of like 536,000 data points of where we can create a recipe of information medicine that aligns to these two statements as a group. And what we're going to do is we're just going to collect the information field that it comes out from, or a list that I've already written, and then I will paste it in here. So do you allow the quantum machine to measure your information field so that we can see what components can we do to enhance this state of being?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so we'll go. So what it's doing right now, it's basically analyzing your information field to see what else can be added to it. And because our intention is also for the group field today with us as you're watching, we're also including, all this information into the entire group field.
Awesome.
So it's still analyzing. So do you have a super short process that you would like to share that can also complement the ability to bring people quickly into that state?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, on the fly, I would say, and this is an extension of what we've been talking about, is, doing a basic intuitional decision making exercise where when you're making your choices, really feel into them first. You know, Put aside everything that your mind's telling you, what it looks like on the surface, and just pay attention to what you're feeling when you are deciding what to do next, when you are, making a big decision in business, when you are putting clothes on in the morning, whatever it is. Just like tune in and notice how it feels. And and Jackie can share a little bit about like the differences in feeling and what those might be telling you, and trying to tell you about flow.
Yeah, most of the time when we're making decisions, we're up in our heads, thinking about things, rationalizing, making pros and cons lists and things like that. But really, the more effective way is tuning into the felt sensations in your body. And so when you get really attuned to your intuition, and we say that everyone has their own unique intuitional signature and what it shows up like in their body or in their field, then that becomes your superpower. So really feeling into these subtle energies and sensations in your body and around your body. So if something feels really light and expansive and open and free and energizing, kind of that state that we were discussing earlier, that's your intuition telling you, yes, move forward with that decision. And if you feel into your body and you feel any density or heaviness, contraction, restriction, dark, these types of energies, that's your intuition telling you to move away from that decision. And so, often people get it confused and they'll mix it up with an emotion, and they'll say, well, my intuition's telling me no because I'm afraid or whatever. But our intuition only speaks to us in that felt sensation and not in an emotion. If you're feeling an emotion, it means you're interpreting that energetic feeling and sensation through the lens of your beliefs and your perceptions, and have gone up into the mind again.
Yeah. And so we challenge anybody who's listening and playing with this exercise to make a commitment to doing what the feeling says, even if it conflicts with the mind.
Especially if it
Yeah,
conflicts.
especially if it conflicts with the mind. And even if it seems like, oh, I have this huge to-do list, I can't possibly do that now, or I'm going to disappoint this person if I don't do the thing that I said I was, or whatever it is. Like, commit to making decisions, as many as possible, based on this simple feeling tool. And the more you make, the deeper in flow you'll get, and the more incredible your reality will become. And if you maintain it long enough, it'll start to have massively positive impacts on your success.
Awesome. Such a good tip, guys. So, what we're going to do now, just to even bring it to the information level, is to now what I'll do is vibrate the list of items that we currently have in front of us of all the information that's required for people to begin stepping into the zone of more clarity when they're deciding between, or they're interpreting their intuition. So intuition, just like you said, it's like a spectrum, right? There's like super clear intuition, and there's intuition mixed up with all this other stuff, that belief systems and emotion and all that. So it sounds like when we are in our super clear intuition, that's when we can make decisions that are unlimited, inspired, magical AF, and where the universe showers you with gifts. So
Absolutely.
so let's do it. So some of the things that I'm showing you right now are some of the areas in which specifically this is blocked on our group field level. So some of the things that can really support us is the color of pink. On a karmic level, it's there are certain areas of death and madness that it can transform. Another one that popped up that I thought was quite interesting earlier is so see these as little recipe points of ingredients that make the entire flow state happen. So there's another one here that is around job loss that the audience is feeling with a bit of trauma, and it will heal it on a psychological level. And then there's also on a microbiological level, there's stuff on psychological level, terror that could be in the way of feeling trust and in flow with your clarity and intuition. You cannot let it be is one of the states, that present states that you might be in if you're not feeling that flow. So you don't have to really understand all these details at the moment for this particular context. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a collective list of all of these individual pieces of information and shoot it into Jackie and Justin's field as well as the group field by expanding the machine's ability throughout our entire group. Cool.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to vibrate it, and then we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths so that we can expand it. And as you're watching, you just want to be sitting in a comfortable position, and you want to be just super relaxed, opening up your information field, giving consent to receive this of the highest and best good of you, and as well as facing the courage to commit to your intuition just a little bit more, as much as you can receive it at this moment. All right, we're going to do this for about 5 minutes. So closing your eyes, taking deep breaths underneath your belly button, opening up your field, letting go of all the day's stresses, all the parts of yourself that are not in alignment with your intuition, that are not in alignment with courageously living your unlimited, inspired selves. Breathe into that and just really let that go into the center of the earth. Breathing into your heart as well, the house of intuition, not only just your third dimensional heart, but also all the places of where your heart exists. And allow any and all wounds, any and all karmic systemic levels of blockages, any and all psychological blockages that are in the patterns and structures which stand for nationalism, to be released, that are not in alignment with your highest intuition. Exhale, connecting to source from above as well, allowing creation energy, highest creator, prime creator energy to flow right through you. That element of full, unlimited, magical, synchronistic wealth in the universe that is in the form of gifts and holistic success. Breathing that into your throat, into your chest, and healing all parts of pain, circulatory disorders, and heart complaints in your energetic and quantum and even physical field. So breathe that in, that healing, as this machine is allowing the information to start merging with the cellular structures to encourage it and envelope it with information that allows it to self-heal. Breathing into your heart. And release any curses, foreign energies, or dissonances for the purification of your intuition and your mind. Releasing the attachment to what we talked about earlier, about that attachment to that brain before the intuition. Now strengthening communication and integration with this process called Dwaman, allowing gentle, extensive support in all processes through this communication and integration. Breathing into your heart, allowing bonding, promoting awareness of being part of the whole. So open up your awareness as you are part of this holistic flow of magic. And allow yourself to revel and reveal your eyes to the beauty and the abundance of this cosmic universe that is here for you, that you're always in. Breathing deeply into it. Bringing in also the energy of Mercury, ascendant Gemini, and Virgo on the physical level in your hands, lungs, and other respiratory organs, nerves, mouth, tongue, and digestive tracts. So breathing that in. Just trusting that the information that's entering those areas will do what it needs to do for you at the level that is of highest good to your body, of which it currently is able to receive. Releasing all traumas that are related to job loss and healing of all viral poisoning in short-chained virus DNAs on a microbiological level. So release it on an energetic field. Breathing in. Allow yourself to be an open channel for love and healing. So embody that. Breathing into your heart and expand. Now we're going to use our collective energy and share that heart space, allowing yourself to breathe into your heart and let it balloon out into your auric field. Share it with the entire house or physical location that you're in. So breathing deeply into your heart. Share it throughout the space that you're in for those who you want to share this with. Now taking a deep breath into your heart again. Share it with your businesses, share it with your community, share it with your teams, all of those loved ones who are also in collaboration with you on this earth with the bonds that are of highest alignment. Watch it infiltrate and percolate throughout the earth of our liberated leaders network of synchronistic wealth and this group of light workers, of entrepreneurs, of this new earth leader, of new wave of leaders that are stepping up. So allowing us to breathe into that and share that with all of those who are in this space-time dimension. And allow everyone to feel that support, feel that collective rising of consciousness. And then feel it ourselves as well, because as we're sharing that, we're receiving that, and that becomes that infinite loop of possibilities. Strengthening it and allowing that we can always tap into this space. Now, allow ourselves to ground down this energy in our spaces beneath our feet, down into the center crystalline earth or the earth core. Sealing our energies, bringing us back into our bodies, untangling all cords from the machine, from us, from you, so that you are sovereign again, sovereign, free, and complete. A whole and part of the whole. And bringing yourself back into your heart, into this room. And into this world. And open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on that. Unmute. There we go.
Hey, awesome. Thanks for that. That was super, very multidimensional. Thank you.
It was so cool.
Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to share a little bit more? I know you guys are just kind of coming back into your bodies. Do you want to share about a little bit more about how people can find you, how people can access those states of flow? You know, get connected to the Flow Institute and the little gifts that you're sharing that help people just really continuously step into that trust and in their businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Check us out at flowconsciousnessinstitute.com. Even if you can get the spelling half right in Google, it'll pop us up. And we got some great stuff on there. We got some articles, videos, free training. So hop on over there and follow us both on social media too. And we share stuff there as well too. So lots of good things for you.
And they also have a guided abundance meditation as their free gift, which will be linked right below. So you can get more of Justin and Jackie and their amazing energy and just amazing wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Thank you so much for sharing your soul. And thank you so much for sharing your energy with the whole group field that we expanded with the machine. So really, really honored, grateful for this playtime together.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yay! See you guys next time on the next video.